we make you laugh? Aren't we fucking funny?
Does that sound right?
What's the boogeyman?
Welcome back to the Moonjuice Metal and Horror Podcast, the podcast where we live and breathe heavy metal and horror, but I'm afraid to shit on both of them. We're keeping that one, by the way.
Yeah, we're keeping it. You almost fucked it up, but you didn't. Okay, it's all good. I was thinking you were gonna fuck it up, but you didn't.
Yeah, I also thought I was gonna fuck it up. Yeah,
It's all good. Okay, so we got to get through at least one or two episodes where we don't completely botch it. So this is let's see, this would be episode 22, right? Yeah.
Yes, episode 22, part 2 of it. You know, because we actually were going to put this episode out directly after episode 20 from it, no? But, you know, I mean, I'm going to be honest about it. Both me and Matt are attention whores, no? Mm-hmm. And there's a new horror movie, 28 years later, you know, came out. It was kind of directly on the same day we were going to do episode 21, you know? No? But just like I said, because both me and Matt are attention whores and we want clicks, we thought like, okay, let's do 28 years later instead.
We got to, man. We got to.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, you guys have already seen that episode, but holy shit, I've heard nothing but good stuff about that movie. And if we can see it in the theater and put that out before some other podcast starts talking about it, I'd like to do it. Plus, I'm a huge fucking fan of that series. Like, that is, for me, one of the better zombie series in general.
I don't know. I mean, I have my thoughts on it. I mean, series. I mean, it's kind of these things that I would say I would not even call it a series or a franchise. It's kind of that's one of the things that bugs me. No, that one movie or one video game comes out and everybody always starts calling it a series or a franchise. It's like okay, to be honest, I'm gonna come out now. I did not like 28 Weeks Later. I thought it sucked. I thought it was one of the worst zombie movies I have ever seen. And I'm going to be honest about that. I do not like it.
Not 28 days later, but 28 weeks later, right?
Yeah, that's what I said. 28 weeks later.
Okay, 28 weeks. Yeah.
I'll
agree with you on that. I didn't really like that so much. I liked the first movie, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
For me, it was the same. I mean, I liked 28 Days Later. No, it was okay. I wouldn't call it my favorite zombie movie, but it was good. No, I did not like 28 Weeks Later because I just thought that movie it's stupid. I mean, it's from beginning to the end. No, the writing I thought was bad. The way the zombie outbreaks again is completely fucking moronic. No, and I know from you that you said like military guys or military people often make stupid decisions, but not that insanely stupid. I mean, okay, if you want to see this, go back and watch our episode on 28 years later, because I mentioned it probably multiple times in that episode, But the thing is, you have 28 weeks later is a few weeks after 28 days later. So you have they create this one safe space, and you have so people are safe there now. So you have an entire military soldiers or whatever and shit going on. Now they have this one person they know is infected with the virus. Bring them into the safe facility. Even cut off into the military part. One person gets infected with the zombie virus. You're in an entire military facility with I don't know how many soldiers. No? Every single one of their soldiers is armed up their fucking ass, and not one single one of them actually thinks about shooting the fucking zombie. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're right. You're right.
That part alone in the movie. I'm sorry.
No, I'm with you. Like I'm a big proponent for, usually with films in general, if the military does something stupid, I can usually analyze what they did and say, I can see that happening because I've seen some really moronic, stupid things, and not just from the soldiers, but just from the top down, like dumb ideas that have gotten people killed. That's been my whole career is seeing shit like that, right? But what happened in that movie makes absolutely no sense. Like I can tell you what would have actually happened in that scenario, and that is not what happened in that movie. So you're absolutely right about that. Like the decisions that were made in that movie were moronic. Absolutely fucking moronic. And that's the first thing I thought when I watched it. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
just I know there's kind of a thing going on in the military. There's only certain situations where you're allowed to shoot, or sometimes when your superior officer gives you an order, whatever. But I'm pretty damn sure in this scenario, if you would see a zombie coming towards you, every soldier would probably be justified in just fucking shooting without asking questions. I cannot imagine that the hierarchy, that the military hierarchy would demand you to look. There's a zombie running at me. Should I shoot him?
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people do get this if you're into military stuff and you kind of look at it, but soldiers in general understand the ROE, which is the rules of engagement, right? And so rules of engagement change with every scenario. And in this scenario, this is a situation that is highly volatile, and the order would have been put out within the first couple weeks, and the ROE would not have changed. It would have been shoot on sight. If you see one of these things, shoot it on sight. That would not have changed 28 weeks later. Like 28 weeks later after this breakout, they would have been on super high alert. They would not have brought this person into the facility, and the orders would have always been shoot on sight because these things are highly volatile.
I'm not sure, but would you agree with me? Probably if they would have found that this person is infected and it doesn't show any symptoms, the military would probably shoot her anyway, wouldn't they? And take samples?
February 2013, distribution restriction approved for public release. Distribution is limited. Headquarters, Combat Command. This is the actual U.S. Army book for combat zombie operations. This is a real thing. It has different scenarios inside of it. It lets you know what you're supposed to do if something like this were to happen. It has drawn out scenarios inside of it to show you how to cordon off a group of people, all sorts of crazy shit, man. But it has chapters, chapter phase 1, phase 2, all that stuff. They literally took this stuff seriously and said, okay, what if something like this actually happened, right? And so they thought it was a good idea to publish the book just to say, okay, if something like this were to happen, we at least have a book to follow. And that's what it is right there. Bam.
So this is public information.
Yes. Yeah, you can look it up.
Okay.
The real deal.
Yeah.
And I remember when they put it out, it was almost like it was a joke, right? Because it came out and people were like, the fuck is this? You know, are you serious? Then the answer from the Pentagon was, yeah, this is real. Because this scenario has shown itself so many times in pop culture that it's kind of a real thing. So we're going to treat it like a real thing, just in case something like this were to pop off. And at least we have a book for it. So there is a book for zombie operations. It's a real thing. I'll bring this to you so you can check it out. It's pretty neat. Everything's drawn up on the inside, kind of, you know, it's very lenient with the rules inside of it, but it says basically if you don't know what to do or you're not sure, ask the higher command. There's rules of engagement for this kind of thing. Basically, it's up to the commanding officer, that kind of thing. Typical military stuff, but there is a book for it. So, but nowhere in there does it say to bring the infected inside of a facility. That is not going to fucking happen, dude. Like, even if you're asymptomatic, like that's not going to happen. Like they would have quarantined that person off. They would have had them down in shackles somewhere else besides inside of a facility. That person that's asymptomatic but bitten would probably be tested on, but the people that came in contact with that person would also be in quarantine until they were absolutely sure that they weren't bitten or scratched. So yeah, the scenario that happened in that movie would never happen, ever. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, military do a lot of moronic things, and a lot of times it's because nobody's there to give orders, is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like when we go see the new movie, at this point, there are no military left. It's just basically people, you know. So this movie won't have anything to do with military.
Yeah, of course. It's like 28 years later, because after the second outbreak that happened, and 28 weeks later, the entire world went to shit. But if you want to hear us talk about that, go back to our episode from last week for 28 years later.
Yeah. I'll actually probably pull out this book too and go through some things in it just for fun. I'll highlight some stuff.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about It Chapter 2, right? So we went through Part 1 and we left Part 1 after they defeated Pennywise the first time, right? And defeat is kind of a strong word. I think he basically fled because he realized that these kids had some type of power over him because they weren't scared of him. He got away, basically, but he's not defeated, right?
Yeah, he got away. Yeah. I mean, they did defeat him. They only injured him.
They injured him. That's it. And it's debatable if they really even injured him because the clown is not really his true form. It's just a manifestation
I
of
mean,
the
exactly,
creature
because
itself.
his true form are the deadlights.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And so
I mean,
with the deadlights, we are aware that Stan basically got a glimpse of the deadlights, but not long enough to freeze him in his path. He was able to run away. But Stan was
exactly.
the only one of the Losers Club that actually saw the deadlights, right? And that scared him to death. Like this has scarred him for life, right? And that's the only interaction he ever had with Pennywise. So he never saw the clown, any of that stuff. He saw something else, which we'll get into that here, but mainly he saw the deadlights, and that's why he has such a problem
But
that we see.
but he got one thing wrong. He
What?
saw the clown. Stan was the one that Pennywise pinned to the wall before
Oh,
they
right.
defeated him.
Yeah. So he did see the clown, but that was the only time.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
was probably terrifying, but nowhere near like seeing the deadlights, right? And we still don't really know what the deadlights are. Probably never will find out. But
Yeah,
that's
but
cool.
the deadlights. But we do know. I mean, because Pennywise, the deadlights are Pennywise true form, is what I thought.
Well, right. What I mean is we don't actually know what the deadlights do or what's in the deadlights. Like we never see what the other people see.
You're talking about the point in the movie, right? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the point in the movie, and
yeah.
then also I don't think it's ever really been explained what happens when you see the deadlights. Like are you going into a dreamlike state? Are you seeing horrible things? What is this that you're seeing? That's never really been explained. I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. I think you're right. I'm not sure. It's not explained in the exactly what the deadlights are in the book.
No.
I think it's mentioned in other works of Stephen King, but I'm assuming now that the deadlights are his true form based on other, lore stuff I know from other franchises.
I assume that's what it is too. I'm just curious as to why it's so frightening because we're going to see something here that I'll explain in a minute that kind of adds another level to it. Because if Stan's the only person that saw these deadlights and it was just a fraction of a second that he saw them, it was enough to traumatize him for life for good, right? And so where we left this with the last episode, chapter 1, is that Stanley finally gets the call from the librarian, right? And the librarian's like, well, and I already explained this, but it's back. Are you gonna, honor your promise and come back? His face goes from, a normal, happy guy to just petrified, right? And then he immediately tells his wife that he's going to go upstairs and take a shower, right? And so that's kind of where we left it. With this next part, we kind of open up into that part again to where his wife has let him go upstairs and take a shower. And now she's like, okay, he's not coming back downstairs. I just need to go see what he's doing. So his wife is worried. She walks up the stairs to the shower where he is. She goes to the door and calls his name. She doesn't hear anything. She opens the door and we see, and this is probably the most blood in the movie besides the sink scene, but Stan is laying in the bathtub with the shower on. He's cut his wrist. There's blood all over the floor. There's blood all over the wall. He's dead. He has committed suicide. And going from a very happy guy to a guy that commits suicide, whatever that trauma is, whatever he saw in the deadlights had to be horrific. I mean, it had to be absolutely horrific. And he's probably been blocking this from his mind the entire time since he was a kid. When she finds his body in the bathtub, he's got razor blades. He's cut his wrists. He's bled out in the bathtub. He's dead. On the wall next to him is the word "it" in big bloody letters because he wrote it with his own blood before he died. Right?
Yeah.
So Stan is dead. Stan committed suicide. Again, he's the only one who's seen the lights. Right? So Stan is not going to be joining the rest for the rest of the movie. But they don't know that. So nobody's been informed that he's committed suicide when they meet up. The next scene we get is the writer. And I'm guessing that this is maybe something that he does every so often. He goes to the graveyard in Derry to go see his brother's grave, right?
Yeah.
So he walks into the graveyard, finds his brother's tombstone, and kneels down in front of it and is basically having a conversation with his dead brother. I'm going to get it. I'm going to kill it, and I'm going to get the revenge, right? And then he hears something out of his right ear, and he turns right, and there's the clown. Pennywise is in the graveyard. And he's popped out of a grave that has just been freshly dug. Yeah. And besides the grave that Pennywise is standing in, there are 6 other graves, right? And they're all lined up next to him. And he's like, good, you're here. You can go ahead and pick out which grave you want to lay in because I'm going to kill you all. by the way, except for that last grave at the end, that one's already taken. And you see the
Yeah.
the seven dug holes. One of them's filled in and already has a cross on top of it, right? And
Yeah.
we know that that's because Stanley is already dead, right?
Mhm.
This was kind of a hint to him that Stanley's already dead. And
Yeah.
Pennywise is he's doing his typical troll thing. He's laughing. He's like, "You're dead. I'm gonna kill you. I already
being a
got one
troll.
of you. We're gonna take you out one by one. Blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
It's a cool scene. Again, Tim Curry doing his thing. The next scene we get is inside of a bookstore, right? And I feel like
Mhm.
this is kind of Stephen King's thing. Actually, it's the library. It's the library where the librarian works. So the writer goes directly from the graveyard where he just saw Pennywise into the library, and he meets up with the librarian, who's called everybody and said, "Hey, it's back." So they meet up. This is the first time that they've seen each other since they were kids. The librarian explains, "Hey, yeah, it's been hard. I've stayed here. I've kept watch over the city, and that was kind of what I felt was my job. I wanted to be here, and I wanted to be here when he came back so I could tell you guys that he's back and you could come back and we could all defeat him."
Yeah.
They're looking at each other, and the writer is like, "Man, you've aged. You know, you look older." He's like, "Yeah, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's got gray hair on both sides of his head. Like it's completely almost
Yeah.
white, right?" And I can't remember how he got that. It was like he got it right when he saw Georgie's picture show up at the crime scene at the first of the movie.
Yeah.
So, and this is kind of a reoccurring thing. If somebody comes in contact with Pennywise or something scares them or it affects you in some way, and it'll turn your hair white in certain places. That's what's happened to the librarian. So they walk out of the library, they've met up, they're kind of reminiscing about old times and what they used to do. The librarian takes him to his house because he lives right down the street from the library, and they go in the house and decide to have a beer. So they're in the house having a couple beers, talking about what's been going on the last couple of years, what he's been doing this whole time, just kind of filling him in on lost time. Let's see, trying to remember exactly what happens next. The librarian goes out to the garage and pulls out Richie's bicycle that they used to ride around on when they were kids. And he says to him, "Hey, I have a lot of fond memories of this bicycle because you and I used to ride around a lot. And so I saw it at a garage sale and I realized it was the bike. So I bought it and I've kept it all this time and it works. It's perfectly functional. There's nothing wrong with it. It only has a flat tire. Otherwise, it works great." And we get this montage of them like riding around on the bicycle together like they did when they were kids. They're like riding through the park. They're riding over the seesaw. It's basically like they're just kids again because you get little flashbacks of them as kids doing the same thing and as adults right now doing what they're doing. And I don't know. It's kind of a cool scene. Like the whole reminiscing of childhood is kind of cool, and you get the feeling that this writer has not been back in Derry since he was right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The next scene we get is Richie riding around in his extremely expensive car because he is a famous comedian, like we talked about before. He passes the Paramount Theater, which is kind of a central theme in this movie, and he realizes that the theater is shut down. Like at this point, it's closed. Like, and he's pissed off because he's like, "Where's this freaking stupid city gonna get all of its culture if the movie theater is closed down? This is bullshit."
Yeah.
And he's just angry. So he starts to pass the theater, and then he realizes on the billboard above the theater, it has his name on it. "Rest in peace." What is it? "Rest
Richie,
in
yeah.
peace, Richie."
Rest in peace, Richie.
Something. Yeah, retail space for lease. He passes it. Wait, I'm waiting for the scene. It says, "Rest in peace, Richie Tozier, born 1950, died 1990." And of course, Pennywise did that because he's letting him know, "Hey, dude, you're gonna fucking die. You're back in Derry. I got your ass now. You're gonna die." So he puts it on a billboard so he can read it himself. That doesn't make him feel real good. Like he's not feeling good about the situation. You get the feeling Richie kind of like he remembers all this stuff, but at the same time, it's like he really hasn't taken it seriously all these years. And so now that he's back in Derry, he's saying that it is actually real. Everything that he remembered is slowly coming back to him. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm going to the library." So he goes immediately to the library because he wants to meet up with the librarian and talk to him. He goes to the front desk and says, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy." The receptionist at the library is like, "Oh, he's not here right now. He stepped out. He'll probably be back after lunch. Just have a seat or whatever. Do you want some coffee?" Richie is not looking good at this point. Like he looks pretty messed up. So she's like, just go over there, sit down, have some coffee, whatever. So he grabs coffee and sits down on one of the seats at the library. There's like old people next to him reading books. And everybody just, it's that kind of small town feel where there's really not a whole lot going on. Everybody's just kind of going through their daily life while he's freaking out, right? And so he sits there and he grabs a newspaper and starts reading the newspaper. And then he hears a voice in the library. And this is one of my favorite scenes, Mike. Fucking love this
Yeah,
shit.
it is. It is.
Yeah, this is great. This is the best bit of acting that Tim Curry does in this movie, in my opinion, because
Yeah.
he takes trolling to a whole new level. Like he is on top of the balcony in the library, also with a newspaper, and he lowers the newspaper, and that's when Richie realizes that it's Pennywise, right? And he's like, Richie, you're back. Do you want your balloon? I have a whole bunch of balloons. And all of a sudden, these balloons appear on the ceiling and fall, like hundreds of balloons. And they fall onto the people that are in the library. And of course, none of these people that are in the library can see these balloons. Richie is the only person that can see it, right? As the balloons fall, the minute they get in front of the face of whoever is sitting there, they explode. And when they explode, blood goes everywhere. Like, there's these balloons popping on old people's faces. Nobody's noticing it, but every time they pop, there's blood everywhere. And, you know, only Richie can see it. This is fucking Richie up. Richie's freaking out. Pennywise is laughing his ass off. He's like, yeah, you're here. I'm going to kill you. It's all over. And he's got like this noisemaker and he's like spinning this noisemaker and it's making this clacking, terrible noise that only Richie can hear, right? And Richie's freaking out. He walks up to the receptionist. He's like, when is the librarian going to be back? I really need to talk to him. And he's having to scream loud to talk to her because Pennywise is being loud as shit. He's spinning this fucking noisemaker. He's like, ha, 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 and screaming and looking down at Richie and screaming as loud as he can. And it's bothering the shit out of Richie because he's the only person that can hear it. And so Pennywise continues to be a total troll while he's trying to talk to this woman. Eventually, Richie's had enough and Richie's about to leave. And even after he leaves, Pennywise is sitting on top of the balcony. He's got like both his legs over the railing at this point, spinning this thing. And he's telling all these stupid fucking jokes that make no sense. He's just being a clown, right? But best acting from Tim Curry in this movie, bar none. Like fucking brilliant thing. I don't know what I would do, Mike. Like if this was you, like how would you handle this situation, man? Like I think I would lose my mind.
I think I'd probably go after Pennywise. I think I would either just entirely leave the place or I would literally go after Pennywise and physically attack him. That's what I think I would do.
I mean, it's worth talking about because these guys have defeated him once already as kids, right? And all you have to do is not be scared of him, right? So I'm wondering why at this point he's even scared, other than just being freaked out, you know?
Yeah, it's complicated because you cannot say that they were entirely not afraid of him, no? Just to the point where he did not have much power over them anymore, and then they somehow injured him. But being away, the entire situation probably traumatized them, no? And considering the fact that after they leave Derry, they forgot everything, what mainly Pennywise is to blame for that, no? And when they come back and their memories start to resurface, they also start to remember everything that happened, and that automatically causes fear in them.
Okay.
No, that's what I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you have like all of these memories coming back of a very traumatizing situation for you as a child, in only bits of pieces, and you don't understand what's going on, that is probably going to freak a person out. Now, what I would argue is the reason why Pennywise made them forget when they left, because he probably knew that.
That's the thing that's a little unclear, right? You get the feeling that these people, when they left Derry, forgot most of it, but not all of it, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a memory wipe. And that would actually make more sense why Stan committed suicide. It's almost like he completely forgot about everything that happened. And then when it resurfaced, all the memories came back and all the trauma came back. And that's why he committed suicide. Pretty fucking brutal, dude. Like this entity has the ability to wipe the minds of whoever leaves Derry. Not only that, but it also has the ability to stop the adults in Derry from doing anything about what Pennywise is doing. So basically, he's got this entire town under his control and can do whatever the fuck he wants, which is pretty fucking scary. Okay, so the next scene we get after Richie flips out and runs out of the library and gets in his car is Ben. Ben is on his way back. He's in a taxi, and he makes it into Derry. right? And
Yeah.
he stops the taxi at the place where they used to play as kids down in the gully, like where they made the dam, right? He gets out of the car and goes down into the gully to check it out. And then immediately realizes that the same thing that happened to him as a kid, because he was a little fat kid and got chased around by these bullies, there's another kid who's coming down the other side of the gully, also being chased by bullies, right? They're throwing rocks at him,
Yeah.
they're pushing him, they're knocking him down, they're calling him fat boy. Ben's right there. He doesn't actively try to stop it. The bullies just kind of stop on their own when they realize Ben is there and they run off. The kid is a little bit overweight. He's a little fat kid, just like Ben was. He's
Yeah.
on the ground and he's got his leg hurt. Ben walks up and says, "Hey, are you okay? This kind of thing used to happen to me too when I was a kid." It pulls a bandana out of his pocket and wraps the kid's leg up because he's got a wound on his leg. Says, "You're gonna be all right. Don't let it bother you. Just go home. You'll be all right." And at that minute, Ben has a flashback of when he was a kid, and I think it's the point when his father called him down to. No, it's not. So the zombie that grabbed his leg when he was a kid, I don't think this is a flashback. I think that he actually, in his mind, turns back into a kid and runs down into the swamp, right? Because it's right next to where the gully was. And when he runs down in the swamp, yeah, you get the full view of that zombie that grabbed his foot when he was a kid. And the zombie is standing out in the middle of the lake. And this is kind of cool. Like it's a zombie that's got all of its clothes tattered and it's basically just bones and flesh and it's just standing there. And it's calling him to come into the sewer, right? The same place that he saw his
Right.
father standing when he was a kid. Obviously, he doesn't do that. He's like, "Fuck this. I know what's going on. I'm turning around." And right as he's about to turn around, this homeless guy grabs him on the shoulder and he's like, "Hey, man, you got some fucking change?" So, Ben's a nice guy because I would have hit this dude, man. I would have been so fucked up at that point. Don't surprise me. You know what I mean? So he runs away, goes back up and gets in the taxi and tells the taxi driver to take off and head to Derry. As he's doing that, they're riding down the road and he sees Pennywise on the side of the road with a bunch of balloons. Pennywise is laughing his ass off and pointing at Ben in the car as they pass by. So Pennywise, as every one of these guys comes into the town, he's showing himself to them and basically like letting them know, "Hey, you're dead. I'm gonna kill you. You're back. You're fucking done." And as he sees Pennywise, he kind of looks away and there's a balloon in the car with him. Like a balloon appears in the car next to him. He's completely fucking freaked out by this. And the balloon says, "Turn back now."
Yeah.
It's in big black letters, "Turn back now." This dude is such a fucking troll. Pennywise kind of has an ulterior motive. Like I don't think, at least judging from the rest of this movie, I don't think that Pennywise was planning on killing them himself. Like I don't think Pennywise thinks he's strong enough to kill them himself.
He wasn't. No.
He's not, because he knows that these kids already know how to defeat him. So he wanted to get them back in town so that he could defeat them another way. We'll get into that later. The next scene we get is with the asthmatic kid who's now an adult and also successful, but still lives with his mommy.
Yeah.
He is now back in Derry. Pennywise has not shown himself to him yet, but he needs his asthma medication. And so he goes back to the drugstore where he always used to get his asthma medication. He realizes that it's still a drugstore and he's like, "Oh, okay, cool." So he goes in there, but he has a flashback as he's going in. And the flashback is that the doctor that was there before that used to give him his medication as a kid, when he was a kid, the pharmacist noticed that something was up with him, that he probably wasn't sick and probably didn't have asthma. And that's because his asthma medication is not actually asthma medication. It's just water with a little bit of salt is all it is. Right?
Yeah, water with flavor, so it tastes like medicine. Yeah.
So it tastes like medicine. So all these years, this kid did not have asthma, and the doctors realized this, but that the mom was very pushy that he was supposed to get asthma medication. So instead of actually giving him asthma medication, they just gave him water with some flavor in it, so it tasted like medicine. This doctor feels like this kid needs to know that. And so this is a flashback from when he was a child. The doctor pulls him into the back. He says, "Hey, first of all, how old are you?" The kid tells him his age. He says, "Okay, old enough to know the truth. This medication we're giving you is not actually medication. This is just water with a little bit of flavor to make it taste like medicine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're being told by the people that are taking care of you, your mom and everybody else, that you're sickly.
Yeah.
You're not actually sickly. And you need to know that, and you need to remember that, because this is going to stunt your growth when you're an adult, right?"
Yeah,
So
of
this
course. Yeah.
doctor was a good guy, and he was doing him a favor by trying to tell him the truth. So after he has this flashback, he walks up to the counter as an adult, and there's a guy working behind the counter, and he says, "Hey, I'm here to pick up my medication that I called in." And the guy puts it in a bag, and he's like, "Yeah, here's your medication." And he hears a voice from the back of the shop, right? And he realizes the voice at the back of the shop is the same doctor that told him when he was younger that the medicine he was getting is not real, right? So he goes back to the back and he sees the old man who's dementia. He's
He's
dement at this
dementia.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very, very old, probably got Alzheimer's. Is just rambling nonsense. He's talking about, hey, give me a cigar, and you realize at this point that the guy behind the register is his grandson. And he's like, "Granddad, you can't have a cigar. I don't know why you always ask me. Just relax." The kid goes back to the back to talk to him, and the old guy, the old pharmacist, is just babbling nonsense. And he realizes that, but he wants to tell him anyway, "Hey, thank you for when I was a kid letting me know
Yeah.
that I was being lied to," right? And as he tries to walk away, the old man snaps out of it and grabs him by the hand and basically says, "You're all going to die. You're all going to die." So, Pennywise is now affecting this old man, or has, making
Yeah.
him talk. So Pennywise is talking to the guy, and he says, "You're all going to die. Get out now. You're all going to die." Blah, blah, blah. Really freaky moment. The guy grabs his hand back from the old man, and the old man changes back into his normal self. This has completely fucked him up at this point. So he hauls ass out of the pharmacy, I think, as anybody would. So now Pennywise has introduced himself to him as well and given him the warning that he's going to die, right? This next scene is a scene that we got in the remake as well. And the remake does this really, really well. There's a lot of bad things that I can say about the remake, but this scene was one of the things that they got right. Right.
Yeah, I would say I really like this part in the remake. Now, I would say this scene alone, I actually liked it in the remake better than the original one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is, like I said, this is one of the scenes that they got right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But this scene in this movie is also not bad. Like, it's effective. It's a very creepy scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the female character has come back. She's now back in town, Beverly. And
Martha Kent,
Beverly decides to go to her house that she grew up in because she wants to see her dad, right? Her abusive, drunk father. So she goes back to the house, she finds it, and it looks exactly like it looked when she left, like the outside of the house. She walks up to the house, and her last name, Burke, is on the door. So she's like, "Oh, my dad's still here." So she rings the doorbell, and an old woman comes out. And the old woman says, "So you're Beverly?" And she's like, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, I hate to tell you this, but your father passed a few years back. He's not alive anymore." And Beverly says, "But my name's still on the door." And she looks back to the doorbell, and her name is not on the doorbell anymore. Like, it was there when she walked up, but now it's not there. So you get kind of a feeling something might be going on. She walks into the apartment with the old woman because the old woman's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the news is probably hard. Do you want to come in and have some tea?" So Beverly agrees, and she goes into the woman's house. She walks into the house and is kind of flooded with emotion really quick because the house still looks the same it did when she was a kid. Like, nothing's changed. So she tells the woman, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom real quick." And the woman is like, "Yeah, fine. Go do whatever you need to do." So she goes into the bathroom, closes the door, and looks at the sink. There's no blood on the sink like there always was when she was a kid, but it's still the sink. And so she's staring at the sink, and the stopper is in the sink, and there's drips of water coming down into the sink. And the water is not yet pooling. There's just a little bit at the bottom of the sink. And she's staring at it. And then all of a sudden, the woman from outside calls her and says, "Hey, are you okay in there? The tea's ready." Right? And at this point, you realize that she's been standing there staring at the sink for probably over an hour because now the sink is completely full of water. So she went somewhere else in her head for a good hour and had just been standing there comatose. She walks out and says, "Yeah, I'm fine. Tea sounds great." Sits down with the old woman, and the old woman is pouring tea. And the old woman goes to take a sip. And instead of sipping out of the tea like a normal person would, she just drinks the whole thing down really quick. And this is hot tea, right? But she just drinks the whole thing down. And Beverly's like, are you okay? Are you okay? And the woman's like, I can't remember what the woman says, but it's something fucking ominous. Do you remember what she says?
No. I think something like everything's. I'm not sure what she says. I can't remember it either.
It's something to the effect of, "Oh, now that you're back, you're going to die," or something like that. And Beverly looks down at the tea that she has in her hand and realizes that it's not tea, it's blood. Like the whole fucking cup is full of blood. So she throws the cup on the ground and the cup breaks and there's blood all over the floor. And the old woman is looking at her with these blackened teeth and is starting to look a little bit more rotted. You realize that this is not actually an old woman, it's Pennywise. The old woman bends down to pick up the tea glass that she broke, and she's picking up the shards, and then looks up at Beverly, and now her face is completely zombified, like a dead person, right? Just dead looking, no eyes.
The thing is not
in
only
her
that
face,
she's zombified.
sockets are dry. Huh?
Yeah, exactly what you said. But it's not only that she's zombified. She now, the old lady, turns into a zombified version of her father.
Right.
Of Beverly's father.
Yeah. It's a zombified face of her father, and the old woman is speaking to her with her father's voice and says, you know, all the things that he used to say to her when she was younger, you know, you're running around with boys and blah, 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 blah. This freaks her the fuck out. She hauls ass out of the house. She runs out to the street trying to catch her breath, turns around and looks back at the house and realizes that the house itself is actually dilapidated, like falling apart. It's condemned. Nobody lives there anymore. And Pennywise is standing right in front of the door, pointing at her and laughing his ass off. He's like, now you're back. I'm going to kill you. So now he's shown himself to Beverly as well. This has obviously got Beverly all fucked up. This is also another great bit of acting from Tim Curry because he's doing his clown thing. He's like, you know, making silly jokes and shit, you know, slamming the door and going away. Beverly almost gets hit by a truck in the middle of the road too because she's just standing there. The truck like swerves around her and misses her, whatever. Beverly's completely freaked out. The next scene that we get is the girlfriend of the writer who's been left back in London, right? So we know that the writer was in London. Yeah, the writer was in London and he was writing the screenplay for the movie for his book. And he left her there so he could go back to Derry.
But I think it's his wife. I think it's his wife, not girlfriend.
Are you sure? I didn't know they were married. I thought it was. Okay. So wife then. She's sitting there and she's talking to his agent. And his agent is a slime ball. Is it really the only way?
That's exactly. I mean, you brought it up. I wanted to bring it up. No, it's just like, I mean, how should I say it? This guy's a fucking asshole. I mean, it's just like, you know, a lot of people this way are. I mean, it's his manager or somehow a friend of his. And when he's gone to do something, he instantly starts hitting on the guy's wife. That's like, sorry. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those fucking guys. I know, you know, everybody's been in this situation. I think guys and girls alike. No, I can only say from a guy's view. No, you have like when you have a girlfriend, you know, and you know, like you're out with her somewhere at a party or whatever. No, and there's this one guy that's obviously hitting on your girlfriend. I mean, you can't really prevent it from happening. It happens. No, but what fucking pisses me off. No, is if I really know these guys come up to you and start drinking beer with you, want to have a beer and acting like they're your friend, and you know for God fucking sake, in the moment you're not there, they're gonna start hitting on your girl. And it's like, I'm not really a jealous type. And I talked to my girlfriends about this, but you just look on a normal level. Told them that I didn't like the guy. It's not that I'm a jealous type. I just think that is an entire special piece as a slime bag. If you act like you're somebody's friend, but are obviously with malicious intent, wanting to, you know, bang the partner of that person. That's just on an ethical level. That's like, those people are, I'm sorry, slime bag, as you said.
I'll take it to another level too, Mike. Like I spent a lot of my life in America and then a lot of my life here, probably more in Germany than in America, right? Yeah. And I've noticed this kind of thing, the thing that you're talking about specifically, where guys will come up to you and talk to you and act like they're your friend only to hit on your girlfriend. I've noticed that here in Germany so much more than in the States. I think that's because here in Germany, if you hit somebody in the face because they're doing something shitty, you're probably going to get in a lot of trouble, right? Like, yeah, you're going to get in trouble if you physically harm someone, right? So you're much less likely to hit somebody in the face for doing something like this in Germany, just because of that. In the States, you don't see this a whole lot because that guy is probably going to get decked. Like, he's going to get hit in the face, he's going to get hurt, and you're not going to get in trouble. So I've noticed it happen a lot more here than it does in the States because people are less likely to react. But you can see it coming now. Like, you almost know if you're out in public with a good-looking woman and guys start talking to you, that's almost exactly what they're doing. It fucking pisses me off, too, because I can't hit them. I can't punch them in the face because I don't want to go to jail.
Yeah, it's just like, It's awesome. It's all, yeah. So let's say it's kind of hard to say. You know, the guys that are just, I just have a gut feeling when you know that somebody is sincerely, just trying to get to know you, being along with you. And for God's sake, it's a fucking asshole that's hitting on your girlfriend. I mean, all of my girlfriends so far have also had a lot of male friends, and this is something that's hard for Americans to believe. Men and women can be friends. It's actually quite common in Europe, and it's not really that big of a thing. It was always because all of my girlfriends also had a lot of male friends, and that's something entirely different. If they've been friends with those people before me, just like, but when you're with a girl and you meet new people or whatever, I mean, that's most of the time when I meet new people is when I had a girlfriend. No, but it's just, simply if you have like this guy talking to you or whatever, or acting like totally friendly. And I had this with my recent ex. For once, for example, there was this one guy, it was a gothic party, and I was sitting there drinking a beer and my girlfriend was dancing on this, on the, dance floor or whatever, no? And then I noticed there was this one guy that was actually dancing with my girlfriend, no? My ex-girlfriend, not my girlfriend anymore, no? However, and then he walked up to me and was like, total nice, and acted like it was my friend and blah, 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 wanted to, pay for a beer or whatever, no? And I'm looking at this guy after I watched him dance with my girlfriend for I don't know, a few minutes. I never said much to my girlfriend because there's not much point. It's not really like, I'm not jealous. I didn't think she didn't start anything with him, and I didn't have no fear of that. But it's just like, I mean, you fucking asshole. I mean, you obviously want to bang my girlfriend. I mean, understandable. I mean, no?
Yeah.
But it's just like, and now you're coming up to me acting like you want to be my friend.
Yeah.
And it was like, I was just sitting there like, I mean, I literally told the guy, just get the fuck out of my, get the fuck out of my face before I take my beer bottle and slam it into.
And you're absolutely right for that. You're absolutely right for that. It's like they think you're fucking stupid or something, man. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, the thing is, I could have even in Germany got in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And the guy just instantly looked at me, was shocked, and then he ran away. In that night, on that day, he didn't come anywhere near my girlfriend anymore. He didn't even look at her. But also the thing is, because it kind of sounds like I'm a jealous guy when I'm not. I mean, my girlfriend came up to me and noticed that something was up. I told her directly what happened. That, hey, there's this idiot. He came up that he was dancing with you, whatever, and blah, blah, blah. No? I told her directly what it was. And then I told her directly what I just told him. No? And she was like, well, that's a little bit extreme, but yeah. Okay.
It's not, no, it's not extreme, man. Like there's certain types of behavior that we should punish, Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for Germans, it is extreme. But for me, it was never really, I didn't get angry towards her. I didn't act like an asshole. We talked about it for like 2 or 3 minutes and then it was over. No? So this is something, advice I could give to young guys. No? When you have situations like this, don't act like a dick towards your girlfriend. No?
No.
I mean, it's not their fault. No, just talk to them normally. No, and be honest about it. And most of this drama shit a lot of people have, this applies to guys and girls, no? It could probably be over within a matter of minutes if you're just honest about it.
Just be honest with your partner and shit. I've always done the same thing, but I mean, there have been times it ended in violence, just never in Germany, because you can't hit somebody in Germany because you'll go to jail. Yeah, and that's kind of a cultural thing. That's a cultural thing that I've had to come to grips with living here. There's things that if you did it in the States, you would get your ass handed to you because that's just what happens. But here you have to understand that people are assuming that you're not going to be violent towards them or insult them in any way because you can get in trouble for that here. You can get in trouble for giving someone the finger in your car, if they cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's completely policed here, Anyway,
Germany is one of the only Europe. Yeah, Germany is like one of the only European countries where insulting someone is literally against the law.
Yeah. I've heard some crazy stories, man, and I didn't even believe them at first. But like, for instance, there was a buddy of mine. He got in an argument with his wife, and she decided to leave because it was getting loud. So she went downstairs to her car and he walked out of the door and screamed an obscenity at her or whatever. And she went to the court the next day, and he got like a court order to appear in court because he insulted her from the outside of his house. I was like, are you kidding me? This is like nobody got hit. Nobody got, abused in any way. He just yelled at you and you're taking him to court for that? That's crazy. What the fuck? Like, yeah, you can do that here in Germany, and I can fine him up to 500 euros for that. Holy shit. Holy shit, man. That's crazy. But whatever. I digress. So anyway, this
let's get
fucking
back into the movie.
yeah, this fucking sleazebag manager is hitting on this guy's wife because he's back in the States. He's like, well, we don't really need him. You can just be with me instead, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, well, just think about it. He's probably done. Like, he's never going to be a writer again now because he just decided to leave right when we were trying to get his manuscript done for the film that we're doing from his book. He's done. But, maybe if you sleep with me, that doesn't have to happen. Total fucking scumbag. Anyway, she gets rid of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, she gets...
Double Steinbeck. Double
Yeah,
Steinbeck.
fucking
Because
douchebag. I throw that guy out of the fucking window, man.
Not only
When I got back.
not only is he hitting on another guy's wife that's obviously somehow friends with him or whatever,
Yeah.
he's also trying to blackmail
Right.
her into helping.
Total fucking dirtbag. Total fucking dirtbag.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets rid of him, and then she tries to call her husband to see what's going on because she wants to know what's taking so long. You get the idea that he didn't really explain to her what was going on, which we saw. He just said, hey, I have to leave. So the whole time she's been sitting here to pick up the pieces after he left. She tries to call him. She can't get him on the phone. You get the idea that she probably is going to leave and come down there to try to find him and figure out what's going on. Next scene we get is another scene that was done pretty well in the remake. Like, have to admit, I did not hate this scene in the remake, and it's probably done better than it is here. But we're now at this Chinese restaurant where the librarian has set up for all of them to meet and have dinner, the Losers Club. And so Ben is the first one there. Ben walks in and he's pouring himself a scotch and waiting on everybody else. And then one after another, each one of them starts coming in, right? And so the first one's the asthmatic kid, and the second one's Richie, and the third one is the librarian, and they're all meeting up, right? Before Richie walks over to meet the other ones, he's still fucked up from what happened in the library, like still a complete fucking mess. So he walks in and sees all of them meeting up with each other, but instead of walking over there and meeting up with them, he's like, fuck this, I gotta get myself together. So he runs to the bathroom, throws some water on his face and says, get yourself together, get yourself together, get yourself together. Then walks out, walks into the room where the rest of them are, puts on his happy comedian face, which is kind of his defense mechanism, obviously. Like, he deals with issues that are uncomfortable for him with humor. That's what Richie does. So he says funny things, everybody's joking, everybody's pouring whiskey. Then the girl walks in and she says something, and before she can get it out of her mouth, she faints. But before she hits the ground, I think Richie runs over and grabs her before she falls. And she's like, I'm sorry. This whole thing is very overwhelming for me. There's a lot going on in my head. It's like these memories that I haven't had for, 27 years are coming back. And they're all coming back at once. And it's almost like it's too much for my brain to process. So I feel like I need to pass out. And so they're all kind of having this right now. Memories are all coming back, flooding back right now, and it's a lot to process. And so now everybody's back except for the one guy who committed suicide, right? Stanley is not there. They don't know that he's committed suicide. They just know that he's not there. So they all say their hellos. They all kind of reminisce a little bit. They start talking about what they remember because there's bits and pieces missing from everybody's memory about what happened.
Yeah.
They start piecing it all together to get a good middle image of what exactly happened and why they're there. And during this time, everything comes back for the most part. Then they're all talking about how traumatic it was. The mood is starting to go down because all these memories are bad memories, right? And so they're drinking and they're talking about these horrific things. And then they all decide, hey, you know what? Instead of this being a mood killer right now, instead of doing this, why don't we just get something to eat and we'll sit down and have a good time first before we get back into this. And so that's what they decide to do. Right before that happens, the asthmatic kid has a flashback right then and there of him spraying Pennywise in the face with his inhaler that he said was battery acid. And mimics that exact same scene. So he pulls out his what's it called? God damn it. Inhaler. He pulls out his inhaler and sprays it into the air and then realizes that he's not actually there in the flashback. And everybody runs over to him, gives him a hug, they sit him down, and then they order food, right? So we get kind of this montage of them sitting at the table and joking around and basically having a good time, right? So everybody's reminiscing, they're eating food, Richie's making jokes, everybody's laughing, everybody's pretty good and drunk. Like the mood is really good. And then at the end of the meal, the waitress brings out fortune cookies on the table. And this exact same thing happens in the remake. I love that they kept it because this part in the book is a great part. Like it's really well done in the book. It's well done here and it's well done in the remake. She puts the fortune cookies on the table. Everybody's like, oh, I wonder what my fortune is, blah, blah, blah. And they start opening the cookies. One of the cookies, the first one that gets opened, has a really ominous message in it. I think it says something like, you're all going to float or something like that. And the others haven't opened their fortune cookies yet. Huh?
Yeah, it's the common thing that's throughout the original where it says, we all float down here and you will float too. That's something that's only done in the remake and the first part, and where you have the scene. That's also a great scene from the remake where you have like Georgie or Pennywise using Georgie to bend down to the cellar. And they have like this scene where Georgie says, you'll float too. And then Pennywise comes jumping out of the water. Great scene from the remake. Yeah. And this is like, but this thing specifically in the remake is only done, I think, like once or twice in the first part and of the remake, no? But it is a constant theme throughout the original in both parts, in the first and in the second part. No? In the original, it's from the 90s.
Yeah, the you'll float too thing. That's probably the line that everybody remembers too, is the whole you'll float thing. There's jokes about it on the internet. That's kind of Pennywise's thing that he says.
Yeah.
So we kind of immediately flash from this table scene because nothing's happened with the cookies yet, right? Only one of them's been open. We flash from the table scene to the nut house, right? And so the nut house in Derry has all the crazy people in it. One of the people that's in there is the bully from their childhood. He's got completely white hair and he's laying in his bed. And we kind of realize who that is at this point because the guy who's doing the night watch for all these crazy people says his name. That's how we know that that's who that is. And immediately this guy is awakened by Pennywise's voice and he doesn't know where the voice is coming from. And he looks out his window and there's the moon. And on the face of the moon is Pennywise's face. And he's saying, hey, buddy, you remember me? I need you to do something for me, right? He's like, I need you to do something for me. And that's all we get of that scene so far. And we flash back to the table where the fortune cookies are. And the fortune cookies start to morph and change. And the things that are inside of them are like little evil bastards, right? Like, there's like these half crustacean, half crab, half monster things that are inside of them, and they're crawling across the table. One of them pops open, and there's an eyeball inside of it, and it's like looking around. And a cockroach. Like basically, whatever these guys are afraid of is what's in the fortune cookie, right? And so Pennywise is fucking with all of them at the end of their meal. They decide to bolt from the restaurant because this is a completely fucked up scene, and they all leave the restaurant. The woman walks up to them, like the waiter walks up to them. She's like, is everything okay? They realize at that point from their childhood, they remember that nobody else can see what they see. So even though the table is covered in blood and there's little creatures crawling around, they know that she can't see it. So, Beverly makes some excuse as to why there's commotion at the table. She's like, no, everything's fine. No problem at all. She shoos the waitress away and then they run out of the restaurant. And that's the end of the restaurant scene. The next scene we get, let's see, is back in the library again. What the fuck? There's blood everywhere. Why is there blood everywhere? Why do I not remember this scene, Mike?
What? What? Back to the library? I don't know.
Yeah, they're all back in the library in the next scene. Yeah, but I don't remember this scene. So hang on a second.
Yeah, it continues. It jumps like now basically between two different scenes. They go from the restaurant to the library to talk about how they're going to continue with everything, what they're exactly going to do, and on and on and on because of Pennywise or whatever. And then there's another scene going on with the bully. That's still in the funny farm.
Right. Okay.
And
I got it.
Is being influenced by Pennywise. Yeah.
So they're back in the library right now because this is where they left after the dinner. And they're all just kind of hanging out, talking about what they're going to do. There's blood on newspapers in the library that they can see that's left over from the balloons popping earlier when Richie was in there. And Beverly's having to clean all the blood off of her hands for moving newspapers. And that flashes her back to the sink scene that we got when she was a kid. And they're all talking about what they're going to do, but they're also a little bit upset that Stanley's not there. Like they're bothered by the fact. I think Richie says, "Hey, if we can all get on a plane and come here, then Stanley can do the same thing. It's bullshit that he's not here. Somebody call. Like, can you please call his house and figure out if he's there, if he's left or not?" So the librarian makes a call. Gets his, I guess it's his wife that he gets on the phone. We don't really know. But he calls the house and he's talking to the person, and then he gets a crazy look on his face like he just heard something horrible. Come to find out, Stanley's committed suicide, and he puts the phone down and he says, "Stanley's dead. He committed suicide," right? Everybody is completely distraught by this. And this also lets the writer know that what Pennywise was trying to tell him earlier with the one grave that was full is because Stanley's dead. So now he puts two and two together and realizes that that's what that was about. Everybody's fucked up about it. It really kind of makes the mood worse than it was before. And this is where like they can't figure out why Stanley would have committed suicide. They all know that this was traumatic for each and every one of them, but not so much that he would commit suicide. And so the writer says, well, there was one other time that he saw something, right? And I remember we were riding through the park on my bike, and I was riding through the park on my bike to come meet Stanley. Stanley was hanging out watching birds because he was a Boy Scout and he liked to do bird watching. There's a house that was near the place where he was bird watching that he went into. Yeah. And when he went inside, the door closed behind him and he looked up at the stairs. And this is kind of what we're seeing. And on the stairs walking down is a rotting corpse of a leper that is terrifying to him, and he can't get out of the door. The door behind him is locked, so he's forced to stand there as the leper gets closer and closer and closer to him. In his head and out loud, he starts repeating the Scout's creed and closes his eyes and repeats it over and over and over again, hoping that will make it go away because, that's what he did when he was in the sewer as well, later with Penny. Yeah. Reciting that over and over and over made him go away, and that's why he did that, because of this scene. But they all agree that what happened to him or whatever he saw was probably not enough for him to commit suicide. So they don't understand. And that's because they don't know that he saw the deadlights, right? That's what we're getting from this. Yeah, let's see. Scroll forward a little bit. So they're talking about that. He gets done telling the story of what Stanley told him that he saw. And the librarian says, "Hey, man, I need something to drink. I got some beer here." So he opens the fridge that's in the library. Yeah. The fridge opens up and a whole bunch of balloons spill out of the fridge and float towards the ceiling, right? Inside the fridge, after the balloons come out, is Stanley's severed head, right? And Stanley's severed head is sitting in the fridge talking. Yeah, they're talking to all of them. Obviously, this is Pennywise. It's not really Stanley, but his severed head is in the fridge, and he's like, "Oh, well, looks like the whole gang's back together. That's great. You're right here, right on time, right in time for Pennywise to kill you. I'm feeling just great. I'm down here with Pennywise, and I'm floating because we all float down here." The whole typical thing that you get, right? Yeah. Pretty freaky scene with the head in the fridge. There's not a whole lot of blood, but whatever. It's made for TV movie. Still pretty good. This did not happen in the book. This is something that was completely added for the movie, but it works pretty well, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They slam the refrigerator door, and then the writer picks up a piece of paper that spilled out of the fax machine, right? Yeah. So the paper that he gets from the fax machine has the words on it that his mother told him to say to help with his stuttering, because he has a stuttering problem that was only around when he was a kid. He's grown out of it now as an adult, but his mother used to tell him to say this rhyme to help with his stuttering. So he's reading it, and the line is, "He holds his fist against the post and still insists he sees the ghost," right? Yeah. So he reads it out loud, and he says, "This is the thing my mother told me to say every time I was having a problem with stuttering, and it made it go away." Of course, Richie, the jokester, looks over at him, and he goes, "Well, it ain't helping, buddy. It ain't working too well, right?" Yeah. And there's a little bit of a laugh. And they say, okay, let's get out of here. We need to get out of the library because obviously Pennywise is messing with us here. So they leave. The next scene we get is back in the loony bin again, where Henry is, who's the bully. And Henry is still staring out the window at the moon, right?
Yeah.
And Henry then hears a voice out from underneath his bed that says, Henry. He looks over the side of bed and looks down, and it's his buddy Belcher, which is the other bully that got taken by Pennywise, right? His face is all messed up. He's bloody. He looks like he's been dead for a while, so it's like the reanimated corpse of Belcher. And he says, hey, Henry, I need your help. And Henry out loud says, what are you doing down there, and what do you need my help with? So because he's speaking out loud, the guy that is the night watch for the loony bin is like, hey, Henry, you better shut the fuck up back there, or I'm going to come out there and shut you up. And that's when Belcher underneath the bed says, hey, it's okay. You don't have to talk. You can just think it, and I'll hear it. So you don't have to say anything. And by the way, they can't see me either. Only you can see me. So Henry's like, okay, what do you want? You know, why are you here bothering me? He's like, because I want to get them back. I want to pay them back for what they did to me and what they did to you. Yeah. And Henry's like, yeah, that sounds good. We can get them back, but how do we do it? And he's like, don't worry about that. All you need to do is get out of here. You just need to get out of this loony bin, and then I'll do the rest, right? He says, this is kind of a cool scene that we get, because what he says is, if they don't believe in me and they're not scared of me, I really can't do anything, but you're alive. You're a human being. You can hurt them. You can murder them, right? So this is Pennywise getting Henry to go back to Derry to kill them all, because Pennywise does not think that he's strong enough by himself to do it. Henry's obviously been in this loony bin for quite a while anyway, so he's very susceptible to this kind of thing. And Belcher reaches out and gives him a knife. Basically the same knife, the switchblade that Henry had as a kid that he always used to threaten these kids with. He gives it to him and he says, hey, don't worry about it. Walk up there and I'll be right behind you, and I will get rid of this security guard for you so you can escape. So Henry takes the knife and he starts walking up towards the security guard. The security guard's like, Henry, get back in bed. And Belcher is behind him, right? And so he starts walking towards the security guard. Security guard's like, oh, okay, so you got a problem. I'm going to take care of you right now. So he comes out from behind the counter, walks in, and walks towards Henry. Right from behind Henry, Pennywise's head pops out. And the security guard can see it. He's like, what the fuck? Pennywise steps out and fucking kills him. We don't get to see this guy get killed, but you see him on the ground screaming and Pennywise getting closer to him. So we know that Pennywise killed the security guard, and now Henry is out, and Henry is headed back to Derry to go kill these guys, right? Cool scene. This happened in the book, but in the book, you didn't get to see him come out of the loony bin. All you know is that he appears later, and somehow we get the story. But this whole thing with Belcher was not in the book.
Yeah.
But I like that they added it because it's cool, right? Next scene we get, the Losers Club as adults are at the librarian's house, and the librarian has collected, just like he did when he was a kid, he collected all of the instances throughout history where Pennywise had come back every 27 years, right? And so this is something that he hadn't really explained to the group before when he was a kid, but he's doing it now. So he hands each of them a newspaper clipping and says, here's an instance where there was a fire. Here's an instance where there was a massacre. Here's the instance where there was a mine collapse. It's every 27 years, this thing comes back and something terrible happens. And for whatever reason, nobody in this town has put two and two together that this entity is what's causing these things. This gives Beverly a flashback of something that happened to her when she was a kid. Outside of her house after school, the bullies had cornered her and had her up against the wall with a knife and were taunting her and harassing her. And she saw that her next door neighbor, who's normally a really nice guy, could see what was going on. Like, he watched all this happen, and she could see in his face that he wanted to do something about it and was about to, and then immediately phased out and walked the other way. And so that was her flashback to let her know, hey, it's not that these adults don't care, and it's not that they don't want to do anything. Pennywise is affecting all the adults in the town and keeps them incapable of stopping anything bad from happening, right? Yeah. So that was her clue as to what was going on. And so we get a couple more instances like this where adults aren't doing anything. By the way, I mentioned that the cop that came to them in the first episode that we did and was like, hey, you guys need to all stay together and you all need to like be together so that you're safe. He's not a low man. I went back and looked it up. He's a character from the Dark Tower series who can also go in and out of universes.
Yeah.
And he knew what was going on in Derry at this time. And so he left his universe to go there and give the kids a warning to stay together because he knew that Pennywise was going to kill them if they weren't all together. That's what that was about. So he's not a low man.
Yeah.
He's somebody else in the universe that's kind of a caretaker. Anyway, so they're all standing around inside the librarian's house and they're trying to decide what they're going to do. They kind of decide that they need to do it the same way that they did it before. They need to go down in the sewer. Now, Richie is not convinced. Richie's like, you know what, guys, this is stupid. I'm going to get on a plane and I'm going to go back home because I don't want any part of this. This is stupid. This is a waste of time. Nobody gives a fuck about Derry anyway. Blah, 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 blah. But they're able to kind of halfway convince him that if he's not there and doesn't go down there with them to do this, that it's not going to work. They all have to be together. Referencing back to what the policeman said, they all have to be together to be safe. So they've kind of halfway decided that that's what they're going to do. The next scene we get is, I don't know how the writer's wife was able to get to the United States this fast, because this is literally like maybe a few hours after we saw her in England, but she is now near Derry in a car, stopping at the gas station right outside of the city. And she's asking for directions to get to Derry. So she's, whatever. She's there 3 hours later, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They should have originally just said it in New England. No, because that's in the state.
Yeah, that would have made sense. But she was in England and got there in 3 hours. Whatever. She stops at the gas station and she asks the gas station attendant, where's Derry? How far am I from Derry? And the gas station attendant, pretty normal guy's like, oh yeah, it's the county line's right there. You just keep driving and you'll be right in the city. And then his voice changes and it gets deeper and you realize it is Pennywise's voice.
Yeah.
And he's like, are you going to leave and go there without your balloon? And she's like, what? And he's like, don't you want your balloon? And it's now Pennywise, his face, and his eyes light up. So we're getting the deadlights in his eyes, and he's looking directly at her.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying, don't you want your balloon? Don't you want it? Don't you want it? Don't you want it? And she's being, it's fucking crazy acting again by Tim Curry. I fucking love the shit. But she is now caught in the deadlights. Her whole face lights up. She goes slack, and that's the last time we see her. So now Pennywise has obviously got her, right? Which kind of sucks. I do not remember this character in the book. I feel like this was used specifically for the movie for whatever reason, but whatever. It's still cool. So now Pennywise has got her. We flash back to the librarian's house again. They're still talking about exactly what they're going to do. They're still trying to convince everybody that this is the right thing to do to go after Pennywise.
Yeah.
We get kind of another flashback all of a sudden of Beverly in her house with the sink that's full of blood again. And the fact that she thought that she was going crazy when she was a kid, that she was seeing these things. And so what this flashback is the time when she brings all the Losers Club back to her house to look at the sink and for them to all see the blood too. And then that way she knows she's not crazy. So she takes them into the bathroom. They all look at the bathroom and the sink and there's blood everywhere and they can all see it. So this was her time to realize, okay, I'm not crazy. The rest of them can see it too. Good. So now I have other people that are on my side, right?
Yeah.
I'm not really sure why we got this scene or why it was important, but they flashed back and showed us anyway. But they all clean off the blood. They're all taking turns cleaning the blood off the bathroom. Next scene we get, they're still at the librarian's house and they've left to go to a hotel. They all decide, hey, there's a hotel in town that's really close to the sewer. We're all going to go stay there. So they go to the hotel, but they also realize, hey, it's not a good idea for any of us to completely be apart for too long. So if you're going to go to your room, and you're going to put stuff in your room, make sure that you check up on each other, make sure nothing's happening. I think Ben is going into Beverly's room because she asked for a nightgown, right? She was cold.
Yeah.
So that's why the other guys go to their rooms. Ben goes to Beverly's room to get her nightgown for her. Beverly then walks into the room that Ben is in. And no, right before that happens, he's in there getting her nightgown for her. We've flashed over to the room where the librarian is, and he's in his room, and all of a sudden, Henry runs out of the bathroom. The old guy that was in the nut house runs out of the bathroom with a knife, grabs him from behind, and sticks him in the stomach. And so there's a scream, and for whatever reason, Ben doesn't hear this, but somebody else does later. I think it was the asthmatic kid as an adult. He hears the scream and he runs in, right? And I think when he runs in, So he hears it, but we don't get to see what he does, right? We flash back to Ben, who's in Beverly's room. Beverly comes in behind him, and she starts reciting the poem that he wrote for her when he was a kid.
Yeah.
The one that he left outside of her house that she read, she starts saying it back to him, and she's like, "Do you know this poem?" And he's like, "Yeah, I can finish it. I wrote it." Right. And
Mm-hmm.
so then she
Yeah.
says, "I knew it was you, and I'm really glad that we're together right now." This is like Ben's wet dream because he's loved her his entire life, right? And so
Yeah.
she leans over, holds him close. They start kissing and making out. They close the door because they're about to have sex.
And now comes my favorite line. My
Yes.
favorite line.
Yes. So he's hugging her and they're embracing really tightly. There's a mirror in the room that he can see. So he sees her back and he sees his face and he's hugging her. And then he kind of looks down and realizes that Beverly is wearing a clown suit. Beverly's wearing a fucking clown suit with big clown shoes. And the suit looks way too big for her. And then he pulls her away from her and it's actually Pennywise. And Pennywise goes, "Ah, there you are. Kiss me, fat boy. Kiss me, fat boy."
I love this scene. This is so great. It's just like,
Kiss me, fat boy.
like, this is like the best. This is the best scene in both parts. I mean,
Yeah, I'm actually thinking I might take this video clip and try to insert it into the podcast so everybody can see it because I love this part too. It's fucking great.
it is.
I'll
It's
have to
great.
figure out
It's
how to
great.
do that, but it's fucking brilliant. But yeah, he goes, "Kiss me, fat boy," and then he starts laughing maniacally, right? And Ben is freaked the fuck out, obviously, and runs out of the room screaming. As he's running out of the room screaming, we get a flashback back to the room where the librarian is and he's being attacked further
Yeah.
by Henry. Henry's got the knife above him. He's already stuck him in the stomach, but he's got the knife above him and he's about to stab him in the face. The librarian's holding back his wrist right when he's about to stab him. The asthmatic kid runs in with Ben and they're able to yank him off of him. But as they do that, he accidentally stabs himself in the chest with a knife and dies immediately. So Henry is dead. Henry's lying on his back. The librarian's on his back and he's completely unconscious because he's been stabbed in the stomach. The group
Yeah.
immediately pick him up. They take the body of Henry and they just cover it up with a sheet. They're not going to call the cops. They take Henry outside, they get him in the car, and they drive him to the local hospital because this guy's going to bleed out if they don't get him somewhere quick.
Yeah.
So they get him to the hospital, and after what seems like maybe an hour or two, because it's already daylight again, the doctors come out and they say, "Hey, he's going to make it. He's going to live, but he's not out of the woods yet." So he's in there. We've got him hooked up to machines. We're keeping him alive. They say, "Hey, is there any chance that that we can go in and see him because we need to see him?" And the doctor's like, "Well, I don't think it's a big deal if one of you go in there and see him. That would be okay."
Yeah.
So the doctors let one person go in and see him, and I'm trying to figure out who that is right now. You remember who it was?
No.
Okay, so right before that, we get a scene with Ben and Beverly again before anybody goes in there. Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah.
the doctor says it's okay if one of you guys go in there and see him. Ben walks outside because he's kind of taken back and overwhelmed with emotion because his friend almost died. So he's outside. Beverly walks out behind him. This is kind of the follow-up scene to what we just saw because she's like,
Yeah.
she walks up behind him and says the exact same thing that she said to him last night in the bedroom. She's like, she starts repeating the poem and then reaches out to him to hug him. And he's like, "Holy shit." He thinks it's Pennywise again because the same thing just happened. And he like pulls her off of him and looks in her face and he's freaking out. And he's like, "Is that you? Is that you? Is that you?" She's like, "Yeah, it's me. It's me. It's me. It's just me. You wrote the poem, didn't you?" And I wrote the poem. And she gives him a kiss and tells him that she cares about him and she always cared about him and all that stuff. So basically, he gets what he wanted anyway, but it's the complete opposite of what happened the night before when Pennywise surprised him. So they're making out. They're obviously a couple now, and I'm trying to figure out who goes in. Okay, so it's the writer. The writer gets to go in and see the librarian. So he walks in and they're talking. The librarian says, "Hey, I'm not going to be able to go with you guys. You're going to have to do this on your own. Like, I can't be there with you because I can't move from this bed." He says, "In my closet right there, there's something that you need to get." So he tells the writer to go over to the closet. He says, "In my right coat pocket, reach in there and get it." So the writer goes over there, reaches into the coat pocket, and pulls out the 2 silver stones that they used to kill Pennywise with the first time, right? Kill, whatever. He says, "I kept them. Actually, what I did was I knew that they were still down in the sewer because we didn't take them when we left. So I went down there by myself. And he said, I'm pretty sure when I went down there, Pennywise was asleep. And the writer's like, you went back down there because you wanted to retrieve these just so that we could fight this thing back. And he said, yeah, because I've been
Yeah.
waiting for this my entire life. I knew that we were going to have to do it. And it was worth my life to go back and get these because we were going to need them again. So you kind of see this guy's devotion to this whole thing. Like where everybody else left and everybody else went about their lives and forgot, he stayed and planned and was just waiting for this to happen again. Right.
Wait for it to start again.
Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to go with him. He's not going to be able to go with him, and that bugs the shit out of him. So he says, thank you. Don't worry. We're going to kill him. It's going to be fine. And they leave. They go back to the hotel where the body of Henry is still laying in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
The room probably stinks by this point. They cover him with
no.
a sheet. No?
No, because it's only a few hours. How should I say it? A dead body at that point usually only starts to really stink until it starts to rot, and that takes a while. First, of course, he'll die. Then he'll have as the reflexes going through his heart, then his bones will stiffen. What's called Muskelstarre, his bone, where you won't be able to move. The body will take a lot of strength. That'll shorten down after like a few hours. I think I'm not sure, after a few hours. And then after that, the rotting process will start. And then it will start to sting.
Yeah, the rigor mortis process is what he's got right
rigor
now.
mortis,
the
yeah.
stiffness. Okay. So they cover him up. They agree, hey, it's probably not a good idea to bring the cops in on this or say anything. We're just going to leave the body here. Because if we bring the cops in right now, it's going to ruin our entire plan. So they leave the body there and they leave. As they're about to leave, the TV is on and there's a news program on. Richie hears it and he turns around and looks at the TV. And what it is it's another announcement of another dead child. So Pennywise has killed another kid during the time that they've been talking and everything. Mm-hmm. Richie's the one that needed to see that because Richie's the one that's still on the fence about going to do any of this. Right. So he realizes, hey, it's a real thing. He's still killing children. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I should go with these guys. I don't know why this guy needs so much convincing, but whatever. Anyway, they get outside and Richie again says one more time, hey guys, I'm not doing this. I'm not going with you. And then the writer gives another speech about how he killed his brother, how he's been haunting them their entire adult lives, and they have all this trauma from when they were kids. They killed him once, they can do it again. They all kind of agree, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
right, let's go kill this fucking clown, right? So they get in the car and they start heading that way, right? They start heading towards the sewer where they defeated him the first time. Once they get there and they get out of the car, Richie is still not completely convinced. This guy's been driving me crazy for the end of this movie. Like he will not fucking stop with this shit about, I'm going to go get on a plane and fly back home. I don't want to do any of this. So they have to convince him one more time. And he's like, yeah, I didn't have to fly down here, but I did. I didn't have to stay up all night with you guys, but I did. And I don't have to go down there either. Right. But obviously now he's going to.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of things, statements he makes, I think, that are pretty funny at times, but it's just like, to a certain degree, this is one thing where the Richie character becomes a little bit annoying, no? I don't remember it in the books that much, but I remember it from the original and the remake, no? It's this part where it kind of, Richie becomes an annoying character, no? And specifically in the remake, later on when they're, come on, we'll talk about it, where the character Richie just ruins both movies in the remake. But we'll get to it.
Yeah, he does. He's kind of an ass. I mean, he's the comic relief in both movies, but he's an annoying character. He's a very wishy-washy dude.
Yeah, not throughout the entire movie. It's just this is the point in both the movies, original and remake, where Richie becomes the character that, for me at least, destroys the entire story, in my opinion. Now in the remake specifically, it's Richie character that destroys the sequel and the one that comes before it. Yeah, because I think I mentioned this on the previous episode. I don't know if I said it before we started recording or not. No, but this is so extreme to a point. If you have people that are afraid of it, not because they, because the book is very terrifying. The same thing I had with my ex-girlfriend. She was so terrified of it that she never watched the movies.
Yeah, you told this story on the last podcast. Yeah,
exactly. We're gonna get okay. So then I can say it was on the last one, but then you have if you ever have any friends that do not want to watch it, no, because they're too terrified of it, show them the scene from the remake with Richie going yippee-yi-yay, color, and then show them that scene and tell them to keep this scene specifically in mind. That way, neither the original It nor the remake will be scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, Mike, I don't think any of it was scary. Like, I might have a different mind than everybody else, but I don't remember anybody saying. The funny thing about these movies, Mike, is this movie specifically, like the original one that was made for TV, this movie scared the shit out of a lot of people. Like it did. It scared people. People were scared to watch this movie, and even afterwards, they were like, "It fucking terrified me." And I'm not sure what that is because I don't find this movie terrifying, and I don't find the remake terrifying at all. It's just not.
Me neither.
There's something to be said for making something into a movie, right? I get it that producers and people in Hollywood see dollar signs when they see a book do really well. And they're like, we need to remake this book into a movie, and we're going to make a lot of money. I don't feel like It was one that they should have done that with, because there's no scenario where you make a movie out of this where it's going to be terrifying to everybody. It's going to make money, and obviously it made a lot of money. It made a lot of money, but there's nothing about this movie or the reboots that was remotely terrifying at all. It just doesn't translate. It doesn't translate.
I didn't read the book until I was like my mid-20s, but I watched the movie with my grandma when I was 7. Yeah, and this is one of the movies.
Oh,
even
your
when I was
grandmother showing you all the horror movies.
Also, my great grandmother. Another one I watched with my grandma. No, even though I was 7 years old, this movie didn't faze me at all. I remember that. Not at all.
This movie goes out of its way to be scary, but it just kind of falls flat. And it's not saying it's a bad movie. I like this one better than I do the remake, but I don't feel like it was necessary. I feel like it was another cash grab. It would have had to have been. And it's Stephen King movies in general. This is probably something we'll get into on another podcast because there's tons of Stephen King movies. But Stephen King movies are either hit or miss for whatever reason. Like they're either extremely terrible, or really, really good. There's no in between. I think maybe this movie is the only one that's kind of an in between for Stephen King films. Like I can maybe count on one hand all the movies that were made by him that were good, or that were made after his books.
Yeah, made after.
I think that. Go ahead.
I mean, unfortunately, the best adaptation of one of Stephen King's books is not even a horror book or movie.
Green Mile?
Exactly.
The Green Mile, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The Green Mile was a fantastic fucking film. Fantastic fucking film.
Absolutely.
Also, it's arguable, although I don't even know, man. This might be one we want to do on the podcast or not, but fucking The Shining, right?
Yeah.
That movie has a huge following. People love it. I was bored to death by that film. Bored to death by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, to me either. I mean, it was another one of those movies. I'm going to bring up my grandma again. Everybody thought was super fucking terrifying, but this is also another movie I watched. The Shining is another movie I watched with my grandma, and it didn't bother me a bit.
No. There's absolutely nothing scary about that movie, and I don't know why it got the praise it did. And I feel like I'm like going to step on a lot of toes here, and we're probably going to get some hate for it, but The Shining is a bore fest. That is a fucking bore fest. Like, no offense to the acting, Jack Nicholson did a great fucking job, and so did Shelley Duvall. And, the cinematography was great. There's some very memorable scenes there, but overall, the movie was a bore fest. Absolutely a fucking bore fest. And I don't want to do that one on the podcast. I really don't.
Yeah, we're gonna do it.
I don't want to. We're gonna do it. I don't want to fucking watch that movie. Like that one's harder to watch than this one.
The thing is,
Jesus Christ.
Because specifically, I'm one of those guys. I enjoy inflicting pain onto my friends. That's why we're doing it. Because I know I'm probably gonna enjoy it because I probably know you're gonna be sitting at home watching it. It's gonna be horrific for you, and I'm gonna love every second because I just fucking.
There are other podcasts who won't even touch that movie because they know it is a complete bore fest. Like, we can do it, but I'm good. We need to make fun of the whole fucking thing because there's a lot of things to make fun of in that movie. Yeah, It is a snooze fest, even more so than this one is. But okay, I digress. Anyway,
It isn't boring. It's not a bore fest. It's just if you watch it in one setting like we did, it's a little bit much. But if you split it and just watch two parts both separately, it's entertaining. I mean, I like it, no, the original, but I don't think it's scary. I think it's a good show. I think it's entertaining, but it's not scary.
it makes it worth watching.
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for Tim Curry,
Yeah.
this movie would have gone nowhere. Like it would have been a complete fucking bomb.
Probably. Tim
But see,
Curry
that-
definitely
that-
carries the entire movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Where's The Shining? The only thing that sticks out there to me is the cinematography and then Jack Nicholson's acting, because Jack Nicholson is really fucking good at flipping out, dude. He flips the fuck out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Losers Club now, everybody is in the sewer. So they've gone back down through the pipe and they've walked down to the bottom, and they've all decided to go back to the room where they defeated him the first time because they figure he's going to pop up there, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
right when they get to that room, they're looking around and they've noticed that when Pennywise came out of it and flew through the first time that we saw the deadlights on the bottom of the creature that he was, that it ruptured that entire area. Like there were cracks and it cracked up to the top, like the opening. Like there's sunlight shining through now because of what happened there. And the roots have kind of overgrown that area and they're kind of taking it over. And they mentioned that that's because of what he did when he tried to escape the first time. He cracked the entire premises. So they're standing there in the middle of the room and they're just kind of waiting for something to happen. And then off in the distance, because there's that drain that's in the middle of the room, right? And on either side, there's little trenches of water that come to it. Up in the distance, you see something coming towards them in one of the streams, and it's the little paper boat that Georgie had at the beginning of the movie. And it's coming towards them, and it stops right at the drain, right in front of the feet of the writer. Everybody's quiet. He bends down, picks up the boat, takes a look at it, automatically remembers Georgie. It's a traumatic moment for him, of course.
Yeah.
And then we get Georgie, right? And Georgie is standing at the end, and this is a pretty good scene. Georgie's standing there. We notice that he's missing his right arm
Great.
because we were told that
Yeah.
the thing tore his right arm off. He's standing there, and it's kind of a rotted version of him and his little, raincoat. And he's saying, again, the same thing that he said the first time that we saw him when Pennywise was tricking them when they defeated him. He's like, I'm down here. I've been down here forever. It's your fault, blah, blah, blah. Same rehash of what we got when they defeated him the first time.
Well, we've all
Except
seen it a
this
million
time-
times now, so
Yeah, except this time the writer's ready. He's like, yeah, it's not my fault you died. That's not really you. You're Pennywise. Show yourself. Right. And so Georgie disappears. We get kind of another flashback again of the writer standing in the middle of the field around all of his friends saying, come out, I'm going to kill you, blah, blah, blah. And they all remember that. So it kind of gives a little bit more power to the scene. They're really, really fucking flashback heavy here, dude. Like almost every second. So he says the same thing. He's like, come out and show yourself. We're here to defeat you. Pennywise, of course, is a huge fucking coward because the last time that they did this, they defeated him pretty fucking easily. So he doesn't show himself. What he does is he appears in kind of a vision on the wall, and it's the clown, and he says, "Oh, you think you want to see me, but you can't see me. Your mind can't even comprehend what I am. I am eternal, and there's nothing that you can do to me." And this is basically, in my mind, Pennywise's last ditch effort to try to get them to fuck off, because he realizes that the little scheme that he had with bringing Henry out to kill them did not work. So this is his last ditch effort to say, get out of here, go away, and he's like, yeah, you're not going to be able to defeat me. Get out of here. They're not buying it. Pennywise kind of disappears. And so they start looking around for his lair, right? They decide to go looking around the sewer for the lair. The boat, he takes the boat that he's had in his hand the whole time and puts the boat back in the water. And the boat starts going back down the stream from where it came from. They follow the boat and they come around a corner and they see a door. And this door is cool looking. This looks like something out of a haunted house, right? So got
the crazy is not a haunted house. This thing reminded me of Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. Really?
I do not know.
I guess so. Yeah.
When I saw this door specifically, the first thing I had to think about is D&D. Even though I'm not a major D&D player, my biggest experience with D&D is lore videos I watch and reading about it in Baldur's Gate 3. That's like
Well, I mean, to be fair, I think everybody that so I'm not a D&D player either, right? But everybody can admit that the books that came out with D&D back in the 70s and 80s were
yeah,
some of the
yeah,
best fucking artwork that you could get your hands on.
absolutely.
Like
Just
absolutely fucking amazing.
I mean, and nobody even realized how much D&D even influenced modern fantasy. No,
Oh
to
yeah.
the point where it took hold of books and everything. Because one thing is, for example, do you know that Dark Elves is an
Yeah.
invention from Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, now we're going off rails. I mean, let's get back
No,
to
no, it's okay. It's okay. I want to talk about it because might not ever have another opportunity to talk about it. It might not come up.
Of course. Yeah, exactly. Just that it's crazy, that Dungeons and Dragons, it had an influence on so much fiction and fantasy. It's all absolutely crazy. Of course, there are multiple Dungeons and Dragons novels that have been written, no? Specifically, but one great thing, one of my favorite fantasy, beings are dark elves. I love dark elves, and it was specifically Dungeons and Dragons that created them because dark elves kind of existed even in Tolkien, but they weren't called dark elves, and there was no difference between them and normal elves. Just that they never went to the Valar or something. But blah blah blah.
Right.
No, but that's just what. Just like specifically, it's crazy and wild if you actually look into what influence Dungeons and Dragons has had on everything fantasy, even horror, till nowadays.
Well, it goes further than that. Like I've had this discussion with people. Like it's very hard for me to like make fun of Dungeons and Dragons. There's a lot of people that do it. They're like, "Oh, fucking pen and paper nerd bullshit. How can you do that?" Blah blah blah.
No.
No, I have some of the original books that came out because I love the art in it, right? And so if you didn't appreciate the game itself, which I'm not a D&D player, like I said, but I appreciate the artwork and I appreciate the imagination that went into it. When people start doing that and they start like making fun of Dungeons and Dragons and all that stuff. I'm like, really? So you think it's stupid and cheesy, huh? Okay. And then I start going through everything that it's influenced. Do you realize that every single sprite that was used in the original Doom games, Doom 1 and Doom 2, came directly from that artwork? There's
I
not
know.
one
I know.
demon. There's not one demon in the original Doom where it's not the exact spitting image of what was in that book. If we didn't have D&D, we wouldn't have Doom. And if we didn't have Doom, we wouldn't have first-person shooters, nor would we have a lot of the amazing heavy metal albums that we have. There are a lot of fucking great heavy metal from like the 80s
Yeah.
and 90s that are directly influenced by Dungeons and Dragons.
So absolutely, even horror movies, and even if you say video games, if it wasn't for D&D, open world RPGs probably not be a thing.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
exist. Diablo would not exist.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think Diablo is probably at least like Diablo 1 and 2 anyway. There are two of the best fucking RPGs that ever existed. Like amazing stuff.
Mm.
Even like some of the stuff that was created in those games, like the words and the runes and everything, also came directly from Dungeons and Dragons. So I mean, I can't beat on Dungeons and Dragons. I can't make fun of it. Like if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have a lot of stuff. But yeah, I kind of get what you're saying with this door. This is very Dungeons and Dragons-esque, especially from the artwork, right? And believe it or not, that's probably what they were going for. That's probably where it came from, right?
Probably.
So yeah, they find this door, and this is obviously the door to Pennywise's lair. And we know that because there are a bunch of fucking child skeletons just littering the place, right? And there's skulls from children that are stuck in the walls. And this door has basically been decorated with bones from children. So we know that this is his lair. They kind of crawl into the lair. It's not a big door. It's more like a hobbit door, like a small door. And so they go through it. And when they get in, they look around and there's this elaborate cave system, right? And you get the feeling in the movie, and I know we're just talking about the movie, you get the feeling in the movie that this like cave area has always been here because it looks very natural. There's stalactites and stalagmites, there's running water. It's very pretty. What we know from the book is that this lair is the lair that Pennywise found when he first crash landed on the planet.
Yeah.
And he stayed there. So this has been his lair. And this was there before humanity created sewers or created any type of tunnel system or anything like that. This is where he's always lived. So this is his other form's lair.
Yeah.
They look around and kind of up in the crevices of the cave, there's a bunch of spider webs. There's bodies that are encased in spider webs. There's a whole bunch of victims hanging from the ceiling, but they're all wrapped up in spider webs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just kind of staring at it in awe because none of them ever been here before. And then in the distance, we get the first look at Pennywise in his other form. And it is a gigantic spider-looking thing. That's the only way you can describe this, right? And this is referenced in other books, not just Stephen King, but I know we keep talking about this, but he's referred to as the spider in other books, right? The spider. And this is why, because this form of him is about as close to a spider as you can get, or at least the closest that a human mind can come to visualizing what he looks like, right?
Yeah.
And it is a gigantic spider-looking thing with the face of almost like a crab and arms and pinchers and these big, nasty eyes. It's actually a pretty good looking creature design.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The time when you see the creature up close, it looks best. From a distance, not so good because it's mostly claymation, like stop motion photography, which is what they had at this time. This is pre-CGI, but it still is not bad, right? This creature gets closer and closer to them. Beverly takes out her slingshot with the silver rocks in it, pulls one back and shoots it at it, and it bounces right off its head. It doesn't do shit to it. Nothing. The creature is completely unfazed by anything that they're trying to do to it. It gets closer to them, looks at them, and then raises up because underneath its chin and on its belly are the deadlights. And it knows that if it can get them to look into the deadlights, that it has them and it can do whatever it wants.
Exactly.
So it raises up. Two of the guys block their eyes because they know what's coming, so they can't see the deadlights. Richie gets stuck in the deadlights immediately. And this is the same scene that you're talking about that happens in the remake that is just absolutely fucking ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
But he sees the deadlights and just goes completely slack and is just standing there staring at it. I think one of the other one, I think it's Beverly. Beverly walks up, the same thing happens to her. She sees the deadlights and goes,
It's
no?
first. No, it's
Who is it?
it's
Somebody
actually
else.
first the rider, then comes the other guy.
Yep.
and Richie, exactly. Beverly's the one because they get all caught in the deadlights and they're like basically paralyzed. Beverly tries
Next
to hit
one's Ben.
anyone. Yeah. Ben,
Yeah.
exactly. Beverly tries to hit Pennywise with the silver nuggets, misses him twice, but then gets another one, no? And then closes her eyes and just blindly shoots at him, hoping she gets him, and she gets him.
Yeah. But not before the asthmatic kid gets up again with his inhaler and tries the same thing that he did to Pennywise the first time, which he kind of blocks himself from the lights, runs up with his inhaler and says, "This is battery acid." Sprays it in the face of the creature and doesn't do anything to the creature. The creature like grabs him in his pinchers and picks him up and shakes him, probably enough to break his back because he doesn't get up after this. Creature has him in his mandibles, cracks his back and drops him. And that's when Beverly goes and finds the other stone and shoots the stone at his deadlights. Right. The stone hits the deadlights. The deadlights, we get kind of this really not so great special effect of an explosion in the deadlights. And the explosion goes from the top of the panels all the way down to the bottom panels of the deadlights. There's like sparks flying and explosions, and it hurts the creature, right? And it hurts the creature enough for the creature to run away. So the explosions happen. The creature turns around and starts heading back to the back of its lair. As it does this and the deadlights are gone, the other three that have been caught in the deadlights snap out of it. So they're no longer caught in the deadlights. The creature retreats. As it's retreating, they all kind of go down to the asthmatic guy to see if he's okay. He's dying, right?
Yeah. Sadly, yeah.
He's crying. He says again something that he said earlier that we forgot to mention. He said, I've never been with anyone. I've never loved anyone in my life except for you guys. You guys are the only people I've ever loved. And he says that again before he dies, right? So that character is now dead. They're all infuriated by this, like with this extra temper now because the Pennywise has killed their buddy. So the only way I can describe this is complete rage destruction, what they do to this creature. Like, they all stand up with fire in their eyes and run back after it. And they catch it before it's able to get away. So it was trying to get into a crevice in the wall and get away, but it doesn't make it. They get there in time. They tackle it. They kick it. They beat it to death. They turn it over. And then all of them together stick their arms inside the creature's stomach and rip out its heart. Right. And so they're holding the heart above their heads, this big, slimy, pulsating fucking heart. It's just like a rage kill, dude. And a lot of people criticize this scene because the special effects are not real good, but I actually like it. It's pretty cool. Like
Yeah,
they beat the shit
it's
out
from
of
the
fucking
90s, yeah.
yeah. I mean, you can't be too tough. You can't be too tough on special effects from this era because this is really all we had. And if you being like a movie fanatic, there were movies that were made with this type of stop motion photography, which there's two kinds. You had stop motion photography, and then you had something called go motion, which came around with the Dragon Slayer. You remember the Dragon Slayer?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Dragon Slayer used go motion, which is you have the creature moving, but you also take stop motion with the movement, so it looks even more fluid. And that was uh the better way to do it, but they didn't do that with this movie. I don't care. I still like the ending. It's pretty cool. Anyway, they ripped the creature's heart out. Pennywise is dead, or is he? We don't know. At least that form of him is now dead. They leave the body there and they walk back into the cave system. As they're doing that, the bodies start to drop from the ceiling slowly. All the bodies and all the victims and everybody that he's ever eaten and wrapped up are slowly dropping to the floor. One of them is the wife of the writer, and she's not been eaten yet. She's just stuck in the deadlights. Like she's gone mentally. So they unwrap her and get her body out of there. They all leave the sewers and come up to the top. They're carrying the dead body of their friend who died in there. They bring him up, and they're all kind of outside of the sewer, holding onto each other like they did when they were kids. And we get kind of a flashback montage of them in a circle holding onto each other as kids and now as adults doing the same thing, right? So kind of a little talk here about, so that's how we did it. We defeated Pennywise, and now Derry is free of Pennywise, right? The next scene we get is of the librarian in his hospital room. He's obviously all healed up now, but he's still there, probably still recuperating. He's going in and he's writing down the story so he doesn't forget it this time. Because everybody forgets everything that happened. So he's got a notebook and he's writing out the complete story and then explaining what happened with the rest of the Losers Club as adults. So we see Richie, he's gone on to an acting career and he's been in a whole bunch of funny movies. His career spikes. He does really, really well. Then they talk about Ben and Beverly. So now they've gotten together and they've gotten married and they're touring the country and they're a happy couple and they got pregnant. So this is something that was mentioned in the book that was not mentioned a whole lot here. So when the losers left Derry, none of them really accomplished being able to have a child. So they considered that a curse that none of them had had children, right? But now, since Beverly and Ben are together, they got pregnant and they're having a child. So he considers that another curse of Pennywise lifted, right? Then he talks about the writer and his wife. The writer is basically still writing, but he's taking care of his wife because she's completely comatose. She is affected by the deadlights to the point that she's basically catatonic. We get a scene of him leaving with her in a car from Derry, apparently going back to London. He puts her in the car and then realizes that his bicycle that he had as a kid is kind of sitting off to the right. And he says, you know what? Fuck it. So he gets her back out of the car, puts her on the bike with him. And this scene is ridiculous, Mike. Fucking ridiculous. I hate this shit. I don't know why they put it in the movie. I just got to say that because it wasn't in the book. But he gets on this bike. He has absolutely no way to steer this thing or use the brake because he's holding his wife on the front of the bike and starts coasting down a hill into traffic, right? A shit ton of traffic. Like there's traffic coming from all directions. And he's just coasting down this hill with his wife on the front of the bike, unable to hit the brakes or anything like that. And he's screaming, "Hi-oh, Silver! Hi-oh, Silver!" the whole time that he's coasting down. There's cars like veering off the road and crashing into shit because there's this idiot on his bicycle with a person on the front just gliding through traffic. At the base of this hill, right when he gets down there, because he was riding with her on the bike, somehow magically she wakes back up. So she's no longer catatonic. Right. And it's supposed to be, Mike, this is supposed to be like a really touching scene because he stops at the base of the hill at this four-way intersection where all the cars are stopped because he stopped in the middle of the road with her and they're kissing and he's really happy because she's not comatose anymore. And the whole time that this is happening, the people that have stopped the cars in the middle of the intersection are screaming at him. "What the fuck is wrong with you, you idiot? What the fuck are you doing?" I was just like, why did we need this scene? I don't get it. Stupid part, but whatever. So she's no longer comatose. She's okay.
I mean, of course, it was a scene that was supposed to cause the emotional reaction because if you see that in what state his wife was, that's horrific for anybody.
Yeah, of course it's horrific.
to see your partner like that. And I guess they just wanted to give it some kind of conclusion, no? To that she doesn't stay that way or whatever. The scene really didn't bother me. It was just like they could have just said it just like when Mike was saying, yeah, she's bad or whatever, but after a few years she broke out of it and everything was fine. You could have said that just like a short montage. Just like they did with Ben and Beverly. Like I said, yeah, she was pretty comatose for quite some time, but after a few months, she broke out of it, something like that. They didn't have to put like this emotional scene, or it should have been at least. What makes it stupid is the bike thing was something that was nostalgic for him, not for her. He should have done something, that was special to both of them, that they experienced together as a couple to break her out of it, That's just kind of like, I mean, if they wanted to make it somehow that he had to reach her because she was still somewhere stuck in the deadlights, he would have had to done something that was a positive experience for them as a couple, not just something he felt nostalgic
Not
towards
just
when he was
cruise
a
down
kid.
the street on a
That's
fucking
the thing that
bicycle in
doesn't
the
make
middle of
sense.
traffic where you could have both gotten killed.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's so the film ends on that note, right?
Yeah, that's
At
the end
of the film.
so far, yeah.
Roll
Yeah.
credits. Yeah. I think I've pretty much said everything I could say about this movie. Like it's got its upsides. Most of it is all Tim Curry.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not going to say I hate it.
The
Like I
thing
said
is,
last episode.
overall, I like the movie. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. But a lot of discussions you see around it is when they say, like, yeah, Pennywise is probably a very weak entity if a bunch of kids or people could take him out that easily. Now, there's the discussion you can have about it. Now, for example, personally, they didn't kill Pennywise specifically because it's mentioned in other books. We said in the previous episode, mentioned that Pennywise is still alive. In other books, he's described as the spider. The argument I would make, I would compare it to other fantasy or supernatural lore stuff I know from other franchises, is that what we see as Pennywise, even this big spider, is only the form or the projection of his form in our reality. And his lair and him landing on this is just his influence on reality. This is the form he can take in reality. By killing this spider, they never killed Pennywise. The only thing they basically destroyed was his connection to our reality. That's what this spider was. Yeah, so when killing the spider, all they did is kind of just like banished him from our reality. That's what they did. And it was even mentioned in Stephen King books that after the events of it, Pennywise has since this time never really surfaced again in our reality. And that's kind of the thing, like they never destroyed Pennywise. Pennywise is absolutely fine wherever he is. He was just banished from our reality and can no longer resurface here. That's how I would point it.
Yeah. And this is where they completely failed with the reboot.
Yes.
Completely fucking failed. The ending of the reboot was trash, dude. Like they fucking he was a spider, right? But he was a clown spider. It was basically Pennywise with a clown's body or a spider's body at the bottom.
Yeah.
And
Does it
they
make it
just
that
I mean, I don't get it, dude.
that's
The
the next thing
reboot
it was
totally
just like the Richie
trashed the
scene when
ending.
Richie gets I mean, I liked the first part. I was like, yeah, okay, I like it. I sincerely liked the first part. I thought it was good. And the second part I thought was okay, fine, no, until Richie got stuck in the deadlock. I almost died laughing in this scene. After this scene, that combined with seeing Pennywise as this, Mr. Crab monster spider, no,
Mr.
I just couldn't
Krabs!
take anything serious. Yeah, I mean, the first thing I thought at first, you see Richie caught in the deadlights where I almost died laughing. And then I see Pennywise and it just reminded me of Mr. Krabs.
Yeah, big fucking crab monster. It was stupid as fuck, man. There are so many other ways they could have gone with that. And for that reason alone, I would say this was the better movie. Just because there was an actual, like, good ending,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. The thing is, as a horror fan, the only thing I could say really negatively about it is that it's not really much. It's not really scary, no. And even though this had a mature rating, I still think you could have like a 6-7-year-old kid watch it, depending on the kid, of course. There's probably a lot of kids this would terrify. No, for me, this movie wasn't an issue when I was a kid. But it's just this movie is just not scary. at all for me, no. And that's the worst thing you can say about it. Either if you would have like watched this in 4 parts, like a miniseries, like every since an hour, it's pretty good. I thought it's very enjoyable. I like the story. I like the characters so far. No, I mean, there's not much characters that I invented stupid names for because I thought they were annoying.
Yeah.
Like another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard to keep up with. Like if you take, I guess the other example I have of that is there's a series on Netflix that I really loved, and it was called Dark. And it
Yeah.
always jumped from the past to the future, the past to the future. Man, it was hard as fuck to keep up with the names and who was who. And this movie's really no different. Like, I'm not even going to try to remember names because same kind of
Yeah,
thing,
yeah. That's the thing. Good that you brought it up because that's the thing we have like flashbacks. That's one of the things. That's one of the things you can say that the remakes did better. No, because you have like in the original, the entire story jumps back between them as kids, them as adults, them as kids, them as adults, and that's confusing for a lot of people. I mean, it doesn't really bother me, but it confuses a lot of people. That's the one thing they did better in the remakes. They just separate. No, they did the thing with the kids as the first part, and then them as adults in the second part. That concept alone was better because you could better follow the story than in the original. No, so yeah, that's one thing I would say that the remakes did better. Then there were certain scenes like the Beverly scene where she visits her dad, the restaurant scene clearly, and the basement scene from the first one. They done that really good and accurate to the book, in my opinion, at least what I remember of the book. Those are certain specific things I think that they did better. But one major complaint I had to the remakes is Tim Curry wasn't in it.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah, which interesting trivia about that too. So if Tim Curry had not been doing so badly, because the actor's health has declined, he's in a wheelchair now, but the original idea was to have him come back and do it again. But they couldn't because the guy's health is very bad. And that's why they went with Skarsgård, which was a good choice because Skarsgård did a good job. I think any complaints, like we said before, any complaints that you could have about the reboot was strictly because of writing and some costume choices, but the acting was good.
Of course, just like I said, like Bill Skarsgård, I have no
But
complaints really about Bill Skarsgård. Pennywise, just like you said, no, it would have been great. It's just writing things, and if they would have done things differently, no, I think I would have liked it. No, it's just I've already mentioned the things why I do not like the remakes, and it's only a small fucking thing, but that small fucking thing ruined both movies for me.
Yeah. There's a lot of horror movies like that where one stupid decision kind of ruins the whole thing. I hate that. Like, this is why we screen movies, Somehow that made it through the screening process, and I don't understand why, but it's okay. It's all right. Whatever. Hollywood is going to remake, moneymakers until we're both dead and gone. Like,
Probably. I mean, we're going now specifically through a phase where specifically the entire 80s and 90s went through. End of the 70s too, because a lot of people say now when it comes to movies that they're only doing sequels and they're only doing remakes. I mean, people look back at the 80s and 70s up until mid 90s. The majority of movies made all remakes, by the way.
Yeah, including The Thing. Yeah.
Exactly, including The Thing. No, so it's like I just think we're going through that now. Personally, I'm not bothered with sequels or remakes, and I'm not saying that they're entirely out of ideas. No, it's just this is just the phase we're going through now. It's either sequel remakes or superhero movies. I have a problem with superhero movies if they're good, just like the majority that came out the last 5 years were.
Yeah, if they're good.
Yeah, if they're good. If they're good.
Yeah.
No?
Well, you're talking about Marvel though. Marvel has been trash. Yes.
Marvel has been trashed since Endgame, and that's the biggest mistake Marvel made. When they started the Avengers, they went immediately to Endgame. That's like why?
But that was the end of everything. Why would you do that?
Like,
You didn't leave anything open for any sequels or anything.
I mean now they're doing secret. Then now they're doing Doomsday and Secret Wars and all that stuff. And I'm like, why now? I mean, Endgame is the end of the Marvel universe. There's nothing that comes after that. You could just reboot it. That's fact. There's no point in continuing it. Maybe having like singular movies of the superheroes, okay, but that's the end of the connected Marvel universe. It's just like if they do the same thing with DC, Crisis on Infinite Earths. No?
Yeah.
No matter how much interpretations of the story is, the entire thing ends with the multiverse being entirely destroyed, and there's only one universe left. That's the end of Cry for DC. So it's just like if they wanted to make a long-lasting thing with the Marvel movies, the biggest mistake they made was going to Endgame directly from the start. Because
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I mean, I think they kind of realized what they had done, and that's why they brought Deadpool in. I think Deadpool was the kind of
but
okay, how
I
do we
think
fix this? We have a character who can break the fourth wall. Let's bring him in and have him fix it all. And that's exactly what they did with Deadpool. But even that didn't fix it.
No, it didn't fix it. I mean, because the only thing that was that was that like Deadpool and Wolverine was like the only successful Marvel movie within the last few years, and now they're trying it with the Fantastic Four. Who knows if it'll be good or not? I don't know. I don't really care much.
Times have we done Fantastic Four though, Mike? Like we've done Fantastic Four 4 times now.
It flopped every single time.
Every single fucking time.
I liked the Fantastic Four movies with Chris Evans as the Torch. I liked those. They were a little bit cheesy, but I liked them. They weren't bad movies. They were good.
Yeah.
But how should I say it? When it comes to these things, if they want to have a Marvel connected universe to continue, they should just go with the X-Men. Reboot the X-Men and do that for the next 15 years. I mean,
I'd be fine with that.
That is exactly what they should do. But continuing anything else regarding the Avengers or whatever is stupid. I mean, they brought that Robert.
It's kind of a. Yeah. I know. There was kind of a soft reboot that happened that a lot of people missed, and I think the reason they missed it is because they didn't advertise it as an X-Men film, and they didn't advertise it as a Marvel movie. They advertised it as a horror movie. And it actually was a horror movie. Did you see The New Mutants?
Yeah, but that's pretty. I haven't seen it yet, but that's pretty old. No?
Yeah, it is. It's older, but it kind of told a different story in the X-Men universe that was actually really good, and they did it horror style, and it was great. I loved it. But they didn't do anything with it after that. Go back and watch it. It's a pretty good horror movie.
Okay, yeah. I have to see it. I mean, maybe because maybe we can do it on the podcast.
I'd love to do that one on the podcast because it was good. I was shocked because I know the book that it came from, and it wasn't called The New Mutants. It came from another comic book that was kind of an offshoot from the X-Men, and the comic series did okay. And when they did it for film, they did it as a horror movie, and it was really good. It was great, and it was Marvel. And if you knew what you were looking for, you could tell that it was mutants. You could tell it was Marvel, but it just didn't do very well because they didn't put it into the whole cast of X-Men. You know what I mean?
That's like the thing that personally Marvel. I mean, you know my opinion. DC is better than Marvel when it comes to comics and stories or whatever. Nah, because Mike can hate for this, but Marvel has done nothing. The only three original things that Marvel has done is X-Men, Spider-Man, and Fantastic Four. Everything else is just stolen from DC, or they basically just copy DC. You can say whatever you want. Iron Man is a copy.
Well, I mean,
Iron Man is a copy of Steel. No.
Yeah.
I mean, literally.
Yeah.
I mean, Thor is basically their version of Shazam, but whatever. I mean, but yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Well, I mean, you've got the Punisher. You've got the Punisher too. I mean, I will give Punisher his thing. They have not done well with that entire thing, but I mean, who is his DC character? The Punisher.
Good question.
He doesn't have one.
That's something you brought up that I totally missed out. Exactly. I forgot those two, Daredevil and the Punisher, of course. No? Absolutely.
Which they're fantastic. Exactly. I fucking love it. I think people are scared to touch the Punisher right now. They're still doing it, but they're scared to touch the Punisher because of the negative connotation that has. But every time that they've done it, it's been really good. I can't hate on the Punisher. Like every movie they've done has been good.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Including Warzone. I like Warzone too. I mean, it was a fucking gore fest, but it was good. And it was directly 1-for-1 with the comic book.
Yeah, the last one I saw was the one with John Travolta. I'm not sure which one that was. But Warzone I haven't saw.
But that was Thomas Jane's Punisher. Yeah. That was Thomas Jane. That was a good movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were like getting way off topic with it. Anyway, you got anything else you want to say about it?
No, not really. Not at all.
Okay. Me neither.
I mean, I've said so far everything about it. No?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we will see you guys for the next episode. I guess what is the next one? We just talked about it before we did this podcast.
Yeah, we
What's
talked
the
about
next
it
movie?
before we started recording, but what? Maybe it's good that we were talking about superheroes now because
Yeah. Brightburn.
Brightburn, exactly. We're going to do it on the exact same weekend the new Superman movie is coming out because that's the thing is we can't do superhero movies on this because it's a horror podcast, but thanks to James Gunn, we can do a Superman movie on this show.
Which is basically what it is. It's the evil Superman, which it's very fitting to do this episode at the exact same time that the new Superman movie comes out. I actually like that. That was Mike's brilliant idea. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will see you guys for the next episode, and that'll be Brightburn. Thanks for watching. Make sure you go to our YouTube channel if you like this. Drop us a like, follow us, hit the bell so that you get a notification every time a new episode is out. If you're not hip on YouTube, then we're also on Spotify. Give the podcast some love because we love doing this shit. Anyway, we'll see you guys next time. I'm Matt.
Okay. I'm Mike. Bye.
Bye.
The blackest dies. The darkest dies. Simply